comes Semenya lumbering along.
Caster Semenya won a silver medal in the 800 meters at the London Olympics. But in all her success, she's been dogged by controversy. Semenya and other female athletes over the years have had their genitals inspected, measured, and charted, their chromosomes and testosterone levels checked, all to fit what sports organizations required for these women to compete. Under pressure, the IOC is reviewing its rules, for now, allowing women like Semenya to compete without testing their testosterone levels. But the battle is not over. For most people, gender seems clear. But for a portion of the population whose genitalia or chromosomes are not what's considered conventionally female, or for women with naturally high levels of testosterone, it's not that simple. And increasingly, science is challenging the old policies. Governing sports bodies had been using testosterone levels as the latest bar for what categorizes a woman. But now that a court case showed women with high levels of testosterone don't have an unfair advantage, the IOC changed its rules, for now, until further review. Former Canadian cyclist Kristen Worley is a big part of the fight. After she transitioned from the male sex to female, she had to stop competing. The hormone supplements she needed to help her function after her surgery were not allowed in competition. These days, she fights her battles in court. I met up with her today.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Wendy.
So you've been battling the IOC for a long time.
Over 13 years.
Wow, are you getting anywhere?
We are. We've been able to, in the last several years, have been working with a series of legal experts here in Toronto and scientific experts here in Canada, some of the very best in the world, actually. So over this 13-year period, we've been engaged with the IOC through my own journey as an athlete, as a transition athlete, and been able to bring forward a lot of scientific research that wasn't part of the original policy planning by the IOC over the last many years. And so intuitively, having been able to bring a lot of experts to the table who've been concerned about a lot of the medical issues that have been coming forward for many athletes.
So much of this is about testosterone and you know, people look at athletes like Caster Semenya and think that she must have more testosterone because she's more masculine than the conventional woman. What's wrong or what's problematic in that thinking?
Well, pretty much the basic problem is that in terms of the policies that are being derived by the International Olympic Committee, like realize even from 2003, there's been 3 policy attempts by the International Olympic Committee themselves, to which in every single case there has been no scientific research presented with by the IOC in conjunction with the policies. So that in itself has several ethical issues in which policy are being implemented into international sport through the International Olympic Committee, through the Olympic movement.
So it's
towards
based
athletes.
on the assumption that there's an advantage if a female has more testosterone.
It's a social modeling of how we see men and women, not just in sport, but in society.
But isn't it an advantage?
It's not. The science is showing that we can't talk about human performance until we understand how androgens work or testosterone works in the human body.
The other side, to play devil's advocate here, is that if there are no restrictions on testosterone levels, that it might be more fair for the minority of women who might have high testosterone levels or be intersex, but it would be unfair for the majority of women who don't, and that it could turn into a very different kinds of sort of professional competition.
Well, that's kind of the misnomer. I mean, it's interesting because we always look at athletes, and I mean athletes XX or XY, again, separate of their sex, is that in high performance sport, we are already looking at exceptional people, right? And exceptional bodies, exceptional talent. That's why they're there on the world stage and doing exceptional things. And I think what we need to understand is what we're looking at first, and understanding that in terms of human performance, there's 1 to 3% differences at the high levels of elite sport that separate between 1st and 10th place in the finish line, no matter the sex or the chromosome of the individual.
There has been change, right? They used to just base the decisions on chromosome testing, which is not the true determiner of whether someone is a man or a woman. When you started out, there used to be actually sex, like checking your genitalia. That doesn't happen anymore, does it?
It does happen.
It does.
And I think it's important because I think within the social media sphere that you're seeing is been extraordinary, of course, and the function around the IF and predominantly around Castor. What has to be known is that this happens around the world. It's all through the Olympic movement. The International Olympic Association to the IF is the IF is kind of the incubator of gender verification historically, because of
historically it used to be incredible what was done to women.
Absolutely, full body reviews of women's bodies, but it was done by women. But I mean, every athlete was tested.
Very invasive.
But what's happening now is that the IOC has never stopped gender testing. They've just actually been rewording it and redoing it. And again, I want to be able to make really sure that it's understood that there's no proven science to their policies.
But just to be clear, no science to prove that if someone has higher testosterone levels, that means they can't be a woman, or because their genitals are a little bit different or their chromosomes are a little bit, that doesn't mean they're not a woman.
The sex of the body doesn't matter. It's all about how the receptor uptake of the body and how the body uses androgens. And so that's not even in the dialogue, because that's what's really important in this discussion, because the IOC pushed this out as an issue of testosterone and to this space with no science or research. And so what's happened, it's just, as you've seen, it's been creating this blanket concern and that this somehow has to do with competitive performance, where in fact testosterone and even intersex really doesn't come here at play. It's really about understanding individual and athlete health, because there's so many variables that are part of somebody's human performance, from the physiology right down to where they live, to the opportunities of the food they eat, to the training regimes. And I think what you're seeing is typically the Olympic Games are designed specifically for men to entertain men. And what happened is in the last 30 to 40 years, women have now, through the social changes of our society, allowing women to participate in sport rather than being homemakers and having children and so on, to where now there's greater opportunity, there's more program development, there's more money being involved, and there's changes in technologies and so on. So you're watching this enormous growth from the female athletes, and it's been exceptional watching this through the Olympics.
There's been so much change just socially in terms of, people, same-sex marriage and people even Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Is the IOC behind the times?
I don't want to say the IOC is behind the times. I think it is a generational issue. I think that we've got individuals who are in the higher ups of the International Olympic Committee who it is generational. It's also Western European men primarily who are managing the International Olympic Committee and the medical side of the IOC. And they're out of touch with the sciences, but they're also trying to conform to a social ideology for commercial reasons.
So are you getting there? Do you feel like you're making progress?
We're making great progress, yes. And all the darkness of gender verification and all the terrible things that have come out of it, if there's any goodness that will come out of this, is that it's going to go into the health sciences and going to be able to change healthcare, not just in Canada, but around the world.
It didn't help you?
No, I realize, and many of the athletes that I've helped around the world in my own journey, my journey as a Canadian cyclist was not to be a medal winner. My journey was to be a messenger.
It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.